to my channel. In this video, we are diving into Persephone Goddess, and she is the queen of the underworld. If you don't know anything about the goddess archetypes, watch my video linked here that will give you an overview as to how they can support you. But for now, let's dive into Persephone Goddess, and she is the queen of the underworld. And in each of these videos, I'm covering a goddess archetype and what I've learned from the book Goddess Within, and how learning about each of these goddesses can help you see which one is trying to emerge within you, how she can help you navigate your next steps, overcome your challenges, and which other goddess do you need to tap into and embody at this time. And you can learn all about the original goddesses and archetypes in my video, which I'll link in the description. And in this one, I'm going over Persephone, who is one that I feel really connected with. And she is also one of the most complex goddesses in the book. Her chapter is extremely long, so I'm breaking this down for you and giving you what you need to know about Persephone and her strengths and her traits, as well as what she has challenges with. And I will be curious to hear how it resonates with you. So, according to the mythology, Persephone was Demeter's daughter, and the goddess Demeter, and she was kidnapped as a young girl and taken by Hades to the underworld, dragged literally. And this can be represented in the real world as going through something really challenging when you're a young child, and even at actually any point in your life. Hers is specific to being young, and that may show up for you, but it can also be at any time where you are experiencing something so challenging and there's just no other thing that you can do but surrender to it. So grief, job loss, loss of home, things like that, just really challenging transitions that really take you under. So that is something that you can use when you see that you're going through something. It's that Persephone's journey. So she's very drawn to the mystical arts, to spirituality, feels more connected with spirits than people, and identifies with that world more. And she's hard to identify from the outside. Some goddesses are easier to pinpoint how they show up in people. Aphrodite, for example, can be kind of very external facing, and you can tell by kind of how she carries herself. But Persephone is harder to define that way, although she will have a very youthful face and demeanor, even though she can be older. She'll also really have long flowing hair, might be wearing very kind of boho chic clothes that are like long and flowing dresses. And she is very charming and smiling on the surface. Like, it's just, you can feel the warmth and friendliness, but there's like a protection there. It's kind of how she just treats everyone, and very few people can actually see what's really going on. So it's kind of like a mask that she wears. So that's why it's hard to tell who Persephone is showing up in. And she has this aura of mystery around her, and it's really like this ambivalence towards the world, the physical world, that doesn't understand her. And she has this real detached way of moving through the world, because she kind of has her foot in one world or another. So she's not fully present, and then you can kind of get that sense when you're talking to someone who has a strong archetype of Persephone. Like, they're there, but they're also in a whole other world. And she also is really disconnected to her body in this way. So she really identifies with like the spiritual realm, mindset work, love and light. And this is actually her greatest journey, is to really drop in deep to the physical, to the present, to her body, and to face the pain of being a victim. Because her main challenge is with power. And on the spectrum that I talk about in the goddess overview video that you can check out, where I just lay out the history of the goddesses, what a goddess archetype is, how they're structured. So they're on the spectrum of different qualities. And Hera is on the opposite spectrum of Persephone, of the power spectrum. So Hera is very comfortable with power. Persephone is not. So she was dragged down to the underworld against her will. And she, even though when she is there, she becomes the queen of the underworld by being married to Hades. Again, against her will, but she still was in a role of power. But her main challenge she must overcome is to reclaim her power and to process that she was a victim. Because so many times people that have the Persephone archetype, they just kind of move forward and they don't process the pain of like actually realizing that, you know, you've been a victim in different circumstances. It's a lot easier to kind of stuff that down and keep moving. But the problem is getting into different power dynamics and struggles and projecting power onto other people and making them more powerful than you. If that's something that you struggle with, then connecting with Persephone can be incredibly healing. And I know it was for me, as I shared that in my own experience, I also went through a challenging experience of illness at a young age. And that was something that I was 3 years old. And it didn't take until my late 20s to really process that. And up until then, I just kind of was in that victim state because it was just always there. And then I'd make other people more powerful. Anyways, learning about Persephone helped me to like really claim that I was a victim in that scenario and other things that happened in my life, and to just be with the pain. And that's really why I do embodiment work, is to actually have tools to feel the feelings and integrate them and their wisdom and release them. And Persephone is the prime example of someone that needs to, instead of going up into these realms, into the mind, in the spiritual realms, she's very loves to connect with the angels and just kind of be in that love and light space. But that's actually an avoidance tactic for her, to like not be connected. Like essentially shadow work is a big part of that, like claiming the shadow, or else it's kind of always like haunting in the background. And if this doesn't get resolved, Persephone can attract a lot of wounded people into her life and a lot of traumatic scenarios, and just like kind of constantly be in a state of turmoil because of this unintegrated pain. And she, in the underworld, watched over the souls of the departed. And she also would really benefit from stepping into her mother archetype, because she was kidnapped and dragged down to underworld as a young girl, as a maiden, and she became a little bit frozen at that age. And in order to really step into her power as a woman, connecting with a mother archetype and mothering herself, because she was separated from her mother. And that is the example in the myth. But think about your own life experience. If you had a disconnection from your mother, or just an unhealthy dynamic there, you kind of intake that on yourself and you speak to yourself in the way that your mother would. So if you have any issues with the mother role in your life, then it's likely that you could also have some Persephone archetype within you that wants to heal and wants to be, mothered. And the other part is this ego, a healthy ego. So because Persephone is so connected to the spiritual realm, she kind of will not have a healthy ego, because she thinks, why do I need one? Like, why do I need to care about money and status and safety and security, things like that, if I'm like in the spiritual realm? So she actually benefits a lot from connecting with a healthy ego, and that would be the Hera archetype, which I mentioned is on the opposite power dynamic spectrum. And so Hera, you can watch my other video, is really that queen archetype. And Persephone is the queen of the underworld. So it's kind of like this shadow. And so connecting with Hera can help someone with a Persephone archetype see that power can be used for good. Because right now she has this idea of like, I was put into power by someone who was evil, and she can help her also step into that kind of more mature mother archetype that Hera has. She's typically older and is wiser and more comfortable with speaking her voice and keeping herself safe than the maiden young woman archetype, who's kind of like very self-conscious, cares what other people think. Let me know if you resonate with that. And so that's a helpful archetype that can support Persephone. And also Persephone needs to be very careful with depression and mental health and mood, because she's so connected to this kind of darker realm and darker side of the world that she can just get really pulled into that, and that's not healthy to be in all the time. So working with emotions, working with a helpful therapist. And Persephone, if you resonate with her archetype, you may have had trouble with therapists, and this is something that I also initially struggled with, because there's also that power dynamic issue at play where she doesn't want to reveal everything, like her vulnerability, and be taken advantage of. So it may take you a few times to find the right therapist, but make sure that you do that, because you deserve that and it's out there for you. And she kind of has that mindset of no one would understand me kind of thing, and that's how that she can really manipulate therapists in a way. Like, she won't share everything. And I will say that that was a lot of my experience, like with therapy growing up, until I really healed this wound in the last 5 years and was able to see like, okay, like it's safe to be seen in that way. And Persephone really has this gift of being connected to other realms. And so using those gifts to help others through a spiritual path can be very healing for her, to like feel accepted in society and to really feel connected to her purpose. And she is the one goddess that needs the most integration from other types, the most support. So as I mentioned, she's really needing that healthy ego. So learning about all the other goddesses, if you resonate with this Persephone, is going to be very beneficial, and knowing that you can tap into any of them at any time, that would be helpful to really bring you back into your body and have you feel seen, because she has such a wound of being separated from the mother, from women, and being taken advantage of by a man. And let me tell you, I'm not going to dive into it in this video, but she is the victim of societal wounding, the patriarchy, because she is the core reason for the witch wound. And Persephone archetypes were basically the witches that were persecuted. So that's just a whole other dynamic of her victimhood, is like actually her powers were really suppressed. So that's very real, and that is an important part of healing work with Persephone. If you identify with having the witch wound and feeling that you've experienced, obviously as a woman, the effects of a patriarchy, that connecting with the other goddesses can help to heal that. So Demeter, the goddess Demeter, can help Persephone to get back in connection with her body, her physicality, and caring for others outside of herself, like just being like that nurturing type of energy. And Athena, goddess Athena, can give her objectivity around her gifts and see that this is a way of her being part of the world and the physical world and serving her gifts while also being connected to the spiritual realm. And she's also known as the black sheep. So if you've resonated with that, she really becomes like the screen, the projection screen for her family growing up of all their issues. And she holds on to all that psychic energy. So if you've ever resonated with being the black sheep, then you know that Persephone has been a goddess that's really alive in you. And she really is connected to the unconscious of the world, of the people around her. So she's very psychic, and that's just, to me, speaks about being an empath and being able to sense like people's thoughts and feelings that they don't even know that they have. That is something that Persephone does too. So she really needs to not be passive and stop giving her away her power, and see it as a part of her identity, and let go of that helplessness, that innocence, that unconscious rage that makes her feel cut off from everyone and from her powers. And that really means making that descent, the dark night of the soul, also known as that, to face all these emotions and be with them. When she does that, she can be connected to herself and her needs and her voice, and return. And she's really embodying that wise woman, the crone archetype, when she does that, when she makes this journey. And yeah, she's one that I really, really resonate with, and I wonder if you do too. So let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.